When you command God's presence into your home, you're not asking for a visit, you're establishing residency. You're saying, God, this is your address. This space belongs to you. You take control of the spiritual atmosphere by declaring that your home is no longer a place where worry, chaos, or fear can live. Every time you open your mouth and speak his name, you shift the ownership from human effort to divine authority. The world may tell you to work harder, fix things yourself, hustle for peace. But there's a higher power that moves when you invite him to take over. You don't beg for presence, you summon it. You don't whisper faith, you command it. You walk through your home and claim every inch of it with the authority that heaven already gave you. When you say, God, fill this house, you're not just saying words, you're releasing a force that displaces everything that's not aligned with him. When you walk into a room, okay, good. The atmosphere should recognize your authority because you carry the spirit of the living God. You are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't measure the temperature. You set it. That means you have to speak like it. You've got to pray like it. You've got to declare things as though they already exist. Peace, be still. Joy, rise up. Love, overflow. When those words leave your mouth, they don't return empty. They move into the atmosphere, rearranging energy, commanding order, releasing alignment. The presence of God doesn't enter quietly. It enters powerfully. It changes everything it touches. When his presence fills your home, frustration has to leave, confusion has to clear, and anxiety has to surrender. You can't live in chaos and carry power at the same time. One has to bow to the other. And when you command God's presence, everything else must obey. The reason some people never experience the fullness of God's presence is because they keep waiting for a feeling instead of taking authority. Feelings follow faith. Power shows up when you move, not when you hesitate. When you say, Lord, this home belongs to you. You're not making a suggestion. You're setting a legal decree in the spirit realm. You are declaring ownership. You're saying this territory is sealed under divine protection. This house operates under kingdom law. And let me tell you, the enemy can invade property that's been claimed and covered by divine power. He may try to whisper doubt, but when you've marked your space with faith, he's trespassing on holy ground. You don't need to wait for a sign. The sign is the shift you feel when you open your mouth and start speaking life over your environment. You command God's presence by living with intention, light the atmosphere with worship, speak blessings into the air, play words of life that carry the vibration of heaven. When you fill your home with the sound of praise, the frequency of heaven overrides every other noise. Fear can't survive where worship is alive. Depression can't stay where gratitude reigns. You're not just changing how your home feels, you're changing what your home hosts. And when your home hosts the presence of God, miracles become natural, peace becomes the baseline, and divine favor becomes the language of your household. When you speak faith and not fear over your atmosphere, you shift the entire spiritual climate of your home. You decide what grows in your environment because your words are seeds and your voice carries creative power. Fear is a parasite that feeds on silence, but faith is an amplifier that fills the air with strength and expectation. When you open your mouth and speak life, you are not just saying words, you are programming the unseen realm to align with God's promises. You've got to understand your atmosphere listens. The walls, the air, the energy, they all respond to what you consistently release. If you speak defeat, it echoes defeat. But if you speak victory, it builds a vibration that attracts breakthrough. Faith is not quiet. Faith talks loud. It declares what hasn't yet manifested as though it already has. You can't let fear dictate your environment because fear contaminates everything it touches. It starts as a thought, then becomes a tone, then becomes a pattern in your house. But when you replace it with faith, you rewire the frequency. You turn anxiety into authority. Instead of saying, I don't know what's going to happen, you say, God's already working this out. Instead of saying, we can't afford this, you declare, provision is on the way. You stop agreeing with the problem and start aligning with the promise. You take every negative word that's been spoken in your home and override it with faith-filled declarations. This home is blessed. This family is covered. This atmosphere is full of light. The moment you start talking like that, you can feel the air shift. Fear can't breathe where faith speaks. When fear tries to whisper, you've got to drown it out with truth. You've got to flood your home with words that remind the enemy who's in charge. Play worship. Read scripture out loud. Walk around your space declaring promises. Faith is not passive, it's aggressive. It pushes back against darkness. It builds momentum in the spirit. You are not trying to feel brave. You are speaking bravery until your spirit aligns. Every time you declare faith, you are reinforcing the walls of your spiritual fortress. You are strengthening your home's foundation. You are sending a message to heaven and to hell that this territory is not open for fear-based occupancy. You're saying, only faith lives here. Your words carry vibration, and vibration carries manifestation. When you speak faith, you release creative energy that builds your future. You start to notice your mood changing, your energy lifting, your environment aligning. Conversations get lighter, peace increases, ideas start flowing. Why? Because faith magnetizes favor. It brings divine movement into stagnant places. It reminds you that God is bigger than the challenge, that his word is greater than your worry, that his promise outweighs your problem. When you keep speaking faith over fear, you build an atmosphere where miracles are comfortable, where blessings feel at home, and where the supernatural becomes the new standard. When you activate divine prosperity and protection, you're not waiting for something to happen. You're triggering a supernatural law that has been available to you all along. Prosperity isn't just about money. It's about wholeness, abundance, peace, and favor flowing in every area of your life. When you call on God to activate prosperity, you're saying, Lord, I align my home with the system of heaven. That means no lack, no scarcity, no fear of loss, because divine prosperity is not based on the world's economy. It's based on kingdom principles. You have to stop thinking like a survivor and start thinking like a steward. God doesn't bless people who hoard. He blesses those who manage his blessings with intention and gratitude. When your home becomes a channel of giving, serving, and believing, prosperity begins to circulate like oxygen. It's not forced, it's flowing. Protection moves the same way. It's not just the absence of harm, it's the presence of divine covering. When you activate protection through prayer and declaration, you're surrounding your home with invisible security. Angels take their position when you open your mouth and claim divine authority. Every doorway, every window, every pathway around your house becomes marked by the power of God. You're saying, no sickness, no darkness, no disaster can step into this place. You're declaring that your home is surrounded by supernatural barriers of light that repel anything not sent by heaven. When you pray this way, you don't walk in fear. You walk in confidence because you know your house isn't unguarded. You must understand that prosperity and protection work hand in hand. Prosperity without protection leaks. Protection without prosperity limits. But when both are active, you become unstoppable. God wants your home to overflow with resources and remain untouchable by the enemy's attacks. That's why you have to keep your spiritual environment clean. Don't speak poverty in the middle of blessing. Don't invite worry when peace is already covering you. Keep your words consistent with what you're believing for. My house is overflowing. My family is shielded. My resources are multiplying. Every time you declare that, you strengthen the energy of faith surrounding your home. You can't activate divine prosperity while holding on to a scarcity mindset. You can't call down protection if you're entertaining fear. You've got to stand tall and speak from authority, not anxiety. When you tithe, when you give, when you pray, you are building a spiritual current that draws more into your life. God blesses flow, not stagnation. That's why your generosity, your praise, and your declarations keep the atmosphere alive with movement. You are building an ecosystem of abundance, guarded by divine protection. And when your home becomes a place where prosperity and protection operate together, everything in your environment starts aligning with that frequency. Peace in your finances, safety in your family, growth in your purpose, favor in your relationships, and blessing that doesn't just visit but lives permanently in your space. When you shift the energy in your home, you transform it from a place of survival into a zone of divine power. Your house should not feel heavy, anxious, or drained. It should breathe peace, purpose, and victory. The moment you decide that your home will no longer host negativity, you start a spiritual renovation. You're not moving walls, you're moving energy. You're not rearranging furniture, you're rearranging frequencies. You can walk into a room and feel when the atmosphere is off. There's tension, there's confusion, there's pressure, but you have the authority to shift that instantly. You don't wait for it to feel better, you make it better. You lift your hands, open your mouth, and declare, this house is a kingdom zone. This space is filled with light. You take command like someone who knows who they are in the spirit. Your home should be a reflection of heaven's order, not earth's chaos. When people step inside, they should sense peace before you even speak. That's the mark of an atmosphere ruled by God's presence. You create it through prayer, praise, and intentional speech. When you play worship, when you speak scripture out loud, when you declare blessings over your walls and your family, the vibration in the room begins to shift. You're changing frequencies from fear to faith, from lack to overflow, from confusion to clarity. The atmosphere obeys your voice because spiritual authority always outweighs emotional energy. The same spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. And when you release that presence into your space, everything that doesn't align with him has to move. You have to guard your home's energy the same way you guard your finances or your relationships. Don't allow toxic conversations, negative music, or hopeless language to set the tone. What you permit in your space becomes the soundtrack of your life. If you let doubt speak long enough, it becomes the rhythm of your days. But if you fill your home with declarations of faith, your walls begin to echo heaven's sound. Start each morning speaking life into your space. Walk through your home and say, peace lives here. Love reigns here. God rules here. Those words are not empty. They're spiritual codes that tell heaven to respond. Every time you release them, angels move, energy shifts, and the supernatural becomes the atmosphere's foundation. When you shift the energy, you shift the experience of everyone who walks through your door. Guests feel lighter. Family members feel calmer. You feel stronger. That's what happens when you stop letting chaos set the mood and start letting kingdom authority dictate the flow. Your home becomes a training ground for peace, a sanctuary for faith, a generator for miracles. And when your home becomes a kingdom zone, everything inside it, your finances, your relationships, your health, your mindset starts vibrating at the level of heaven's order, turning ordinary space into extraordinary ground where divine power feels at home. When you invite heaven's power to multiply everything you touch, you are stepping into the supernatural law of increase that God built into creation. From the beginning, he commanded multiplication over everything blessed. That means when his power enters your home, it doesn't just maintain, it expands. Whatever you place in his hands multiplies. Your peace multiplies, your joy multiplies, your opportunities multiply. You've got to stop thinking that God only wants to get you by, he wants to overflow you. He wants every area of your life to reflect abundance, not survival. When you invite his power, you're saying, Lord, take what's small and make it significant. Take what's ordinary and make it supernatural. You become a carrier of expansion, a magnet for increase, because divine power doesn't stay stagnant, it grows. This kind of multiplication starts in the spirit before it shows in the natural. When you fill your home with faith, gratitude, and obedience, you create soil that heaven can grow in. You're not just praying for miracles, you're preparing the environment for them. Every word of faith you speak is a seed, and God's power is the rain that causes it to sprout. But you've got to stay consistent. You can't plant faith on Sunday and dig up doubt on Monday. Keep watering your declarations with praise. Keep speaking blessing even when it hasn't manifested yet. The moment you stop complaining and start thanking God in advance, you activate the law of divine multiplication. Heaven begins to expand what you've already placed in motion. When you invite God's power to multiply, you're giving him permission to move beyond your logic. He doesn't need the right conditions. He just needs your cooperation. The same God who multiplied 5 loaves and 2 fish can multiply your resources, your influence, your favor, your peace. But he won't force his power. He waits for your invitation. That's why your words are vital. When you say, Lord, let your power increase everything I touch, you're aligning yourself with his creative will. He takes your effort and breathes expansion into it. He takes what's limited and gives it eternal potential. That's how miracles are born, not in the perfect plan, but in the surrendered heart that says, God, do what only you can do. Heaven's power multiplies movement. If you're faithful with little, it grows. If you honor God with what you have, it expands. If you speak life instead of limits, you'll see multiplication unfold right in front of you. Your home will start to attract divine opportunities, divine connections, divine breakthroughs. The things that once felt stuck begin to accelerate because God's presence carries acceleration. You are no longer operating under natural timing. You're living under divine increase. And once that power begins to move, you won't have to chase blessings. Blessings will chase you. Every room in your home becomes a seedbed for miracles. Every conversation becomes a spark for favor, and everything you touch carries the fingerprint of heaven's expansion. When you live as the gatekeeper of God's glory in your home, you take full spiritual responsibility for what enters, what stays, and what leaves your space. You become the protector of the atmosphere, the one who determines whether peace or chaos dominates the environment. Being a gatekeeper means you don't let anything come through your doors that doesn't align with heaven. You guard your house with discernment, not fear. You pay attention to conversations, entertainment, attitudes, and influences because everything carries a spirit. And every spirit either builds or breaks the presence of God in your home. You set a spiritual perimeter that says, only light passes through here. You understand that your home is more than a physical structure. It's a spiritual territory that must remain charged with divine power. You are not waiting for someone else to set the tone. You are the one who sets it. The authority God placed in you gives you the right to manage your space like holy ground. That means you don't tolerate gossip, negativity, or spiritual laziness within your walls. You walk through your house with intentionality, speaking the word over every room. When something feels off, you address it immediately in prayer. You don't let small seeds of discord grow into strongholds. You clean the atmosphere the same way you clean the floors. You make it a daily habit to invite God's glory to rest, not just visit. His presence doesn't need to be a Sunday event. It should be a daily reality. Every time you worship, every time you show gratitude, every time you speak blessings, you are strengthening the shield of glory around your home. You are telling heaven, this space is available for your presence. And telling darkness, you are not welcome here. Being the gatekeeper of God's glory also means living as an example to everyone in your home. You set the spiritual tone through your behavior. When others see your peace, your discipline, your faith, they begin to mirror it. Your consistency becomes a silent sermon that teaches them how to carry the same glory in their own lives. You don't need to preach long messages. Your atmosphere preaches for you. The peace that rests in your home speaks louder than any words. The love that fills your house becomes evidence that God truly lives there. The power that flows through your prayer life becomes the energy that sustains your family through trials. You are not only guarding a physical place, you are building a legacy of divine presence that will outlive you. When you take your position as the spiritual gatekeeper, heaven responds to your authority. Angels are assigned to your space. Favor starts to flow, and divine protection covers everything that belongs to you. The Spirit of God recognizes your invitation and turns your home into a habitation. You no longer live under the atmosphere of the world. You live under the atmosphere of heaven. Every time you walk through your door, peace meets you. Every time you open your mouth, glory fills the air. You are the guardian of God's presence, the carrier of his fire, the one who ensures that your home remains a sanctuary where divine power reigns and miracles feel natural.